end. And so without further ado, today we have Coach Ellen. I'm not sure if I've heard her before on our platform. Maybe she has, and I just didn't realize, but this for me is like an inaugural presentation. So she'll correct me if she's presented before on this platform, but whatever the case, as far as I'm concerned, this must be the first one. And so without further ado, let's all put our hands together for a very amazing alumni of the programs that Dr. Nelly has been running, and that's Coach Ellen. So a big round of applause for you, Coach Ellen. Let me make you co-host on that screen as well. And there you go. So I'm gonna also give you a spotlight so that we all see you. All righty, over to you, Coach.
Thank you, Revota. Indeed, it's the first time that you are seeing me speak on the platform, and I'm very grateful to Dr. Nelly, my mentor, and to all of you, Revota, Sunshine, Sylvia, Anne, who have been here and learning so much from all of you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm really grateful to Dr. Nelly for giving me this opportunity to speak. And I think, like many other mentees, when that time comes, you are inside of you wondering what you are going to say. But we are here today. Thank you. And this is Coach Ellen, MMC Mubanga, and I'm going to take you through prosperity for the soul. The journey of my life. I have been around quite a while. And life has been interesting. Life has been filled with so much ups and downs. Forgiveness is a strange thing. It can sometimes be easier to forgive our enemies than our friends. It can be hardest of all to forgive people we love. That's a quote from Fred Rogers. And my journey of life is not void of forgiveness. Tony Robbins says, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. And therefore, growing up as a child, I was filled with so many challenges in life. And this stems from the fact that depending on the makeup of your home, I came from a home that early in our lives, our parents separated due to circumstances. My mother remained here in Zambia, and my father had to go away in foreign lands. And therefore he went away for a very long time. And that caused the separation that became permanent. And we grew up with mom, though for a short while. I had a very determined grandfather who took us on and said he could not leave us with our mother. And therefore, a major part of my life, I spent it in the village, especially the formative years of my life. And growing up there had a lot of challenges. And one of the biggest challenges I faced was the fact that basic needs were not available. And what hurt me the most during those times was the fact that when you are being introduced or when you are being talked to, and in the village, I spoke very good English, and everybody would say, oh, this is the child whose father lives in Canada. And yet she is in the typical village life. Those who have grown up in the village, those who have had a chance of being there, who agree that life can be hard. I grew up there, moments for years where shoes were not an issue. You just had to walk to school. I have many parts of that life, and that formed me. I had so much pain in my life growing up without the needs. And every time I heard the words that my father is in Canada, I always wondered, and I always had this pain as if a knife was cutting through my heart. Life was hard. School was hard. Later on, I moved from the village after my grandfather passed on. So my mother had to take me, and we came to the Copper Belt. My mom wasn't working then. Life was hard. I remember a time when we had to stay in one room. And whenever I would enter that room, I would curse my father. I would say, but where is this man who lives in Canada, whose family, then his brother, some of his brothers would fly to go and see him. But us as his children, we never had that opportunity. It was hard. And I went to school, supported sometimes by my fellow pupils who felt sorry for me, who had pity, teachers. I was fortunate. I went to a Catholic school, and the nuns would provide some of the needs that I needed. And yet, I had a father who lived in Canada. It was so hard. I was determined to make it. And that is why today I have this opportunity to speak about my story, which may be a story of many others. There are people who have made great contributions to my life, and I've seen that I've stayed on course. I've been on course to where I am today because somebody out there helped me. But even as I was receiving that help, even as I was filled with great dreams inside of me, I had a deep hurt because I had shame, I had ridicule, I had stigma. Every time people referred to me as, oh, her father lives in Canada, but I never saw the benefits. And fast forward, I completed university, in spite of the challenges, got married. And this is the journey I had. Along the way, in the later years, especially towards after I completed my university, my father tried to make contact. At one point, he came for a few months, but he went back. But that relationship was not there. That relationship was not healed. I had so much questions. I had so much pain. Actually, in growing up, at one point, I told myself I would never get married to a Bemba man because of my father. Fortunately, I did get married to a Bemba man, but it was after much searching and accepting what God had prepared for me. So the hurt continued. The questions continued. It was in 2016 when I had to deal with that. And this happened because an incident happened in my life and in my father's life. I had so much unresolved issues with him. And I should say, at one point or another in your life, unresolved issues will surface. Opportunities to deal with those issues will come. And if you are not ready, it may pass and you may live in that state forever. But when those issues surface, when a time comes, you will have to deal with it. And it was in 2016 that I had to deal with this issue of my father. Because unresolved issues really affect your relationships, affect your emotions, affect your speech. You may be a nice person, you may be successful, you may be flourishing, but if there's that undercurrent in you that you have not resolved, it will surface from time to time in your faith, in your health, in your emotions, in your performance, even at work. You may be uttering certain things because you have things that you have not resolved. I was very argumentative, very strong-headed. When I want something to happen, or if somebody challenges me, I will rise up in a fierce manner. Although I'm a very nice person, as you all know me, very joyful, and I love to laugh, but I had something inside of me that was not resolved. So for me, it was the issue of unforgiveness. That one issue I had to deal with. As I've said, naturally, I'm a pleasant person. And I do great things, but unforgiveness created this emotional distress many times, especially when I thought of my dad. I looked at some of my siblings. I looked at the opportunities we may have had with him. Unforgiveness creates anxieties, depression, insecurities, fear. Creates those moments where you feel you are inadequate, you cannot do certain things. It also creates a hardened heart. A hardened heart will always have anger, resentment, bitterness, hatred towards others, even those who have not offended you. I should say, even my dad's family, because I felt they were also to blame. So in growing up, I remember one time writing to his younger brother and saying, I did not choose to be born in this family. Why do we have to suffer? It was hard. It was painful. It was distressful. But in 2016, I received a call one morning around 7. I was going for work with my husband, and the call came from a strange person I had never spoken to. And this person said, are you Ellen? It was a foreign number. And I said, yes, I am. And the lady on the other side said, your father is in ICU. He needs you. People, at that moment, everything in me, like, was a flood of the memories of not having him around my life. I said, what do you mean he's in ICU? She said, he's very sick, and he is. At that time, not in Canada, he was in the Philippines. And I said, but what has happened? She just said, your father needs you. Here's my line, call me when you are ready. I had so much confusion in my head, so much confusion in my heart, so much confusion. Everything about me was confusing. I had hurt. I had bitterness. I told my husband as he was driving, and he said, what was that? I said, my dad is in ICU. And he asked me a question, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. I don't know. So I got to the office. I called his family members, his sisters. They all said, wow, that's sad. Anyway, there's nothing we can do. People, it was hard. That morning was a moment of reckoning in my life. I sat down, what am I going to do? And people, when you're a child of God, you say you are a child of God, God will speak to you in that moment, in that moment. And you know what God said to me on that morning with all that was going on? Exodus 20, verse 12. Honor your father and mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord God is giving you. People, I laughed to myself. I said, what? Honor my father. My father was never there for me. My father did not contribute to who I am today. I would have been a better person. I would have had a better job. I would have excelled. I would have maybe been somewhere, especially that he was in a foreign land. But people, God spoke that morning. And what he said thereafter was, I did not say honor your good father. I did not say honor your excellent father. All I said is honor your father and your mother. Whatever they have become is not your problem. Your challenge, Ellen, is to honor them. People, without any money, I called my husband. I said, I am going to Philippines. I went to my boss. I said, my father is in ICU. I need to go. And of course, I started making the arrangements. And I flew. And I found him very sick. I stayed there for 3 weeks until he was sort of stable. He underwent a major operation. And I couldn't come with him. He stayed there. I had to come back. He stayed in hospital for more than 1 year, bedridden, taken care by the hospital, and a wonderful woman he had met in Philippines who was by his bedside. And at that moment, when I traveled, I made a decision. I'll forgive my father for all the years he was never there for me. And I forgave my father. I acknowledged the hurt. I considered the hurt and the pain that affected me. I accepted that I could not change the past. I could not change the circumstances, but I had to forgive him and repair whatever was left. I had to learn to live as his daughter. I forgave him. And at that moment, being the good person I was, but it transformed my life. Forgiveness made me a better person. Forgiveness made me take that risk. When I came back, the hospital kept on calling that this man needs to move out of the hospital. This man needs to go back, needs to be discharged, but I had no resources. And the story is that his life was at that moment what you would call a mess. I went to the Canadian government, the embassy in Zambia. How can you help this man? And that time he had lost his passport. He had gotten a temporary passport which had expired. And the Canadian government tells me we can only move him to Canada. And I said, but in Canada, he has nobody to look after him. He is bedridden. My father had conditions, which I remember one of the doctors here telling me, your father has a wide round of sicknesses. He had heart problems, he had kidney problems, he had cancer of the bladder. He had so many complications. But I took the risk and God was by my side. The details are so much how God moved that even the Zambian government, because my father lived in Canada for a long time, he was a Canadian citizen. When I tried to ask the Zambian government to give him a passport, they said, no, he is not a Zambian. But by God's grace and intervention, the story is that the Zambian government gave me that document to bring my father back to Zambia. And to bring him back was an uphill battle. But because forgiveness had taken place, I took the risk. Forgiveness will allow you to shift gears. Forgiveness will allow you to go extra miles in your life. Forgiveness allowed me to go extra miles. It allowed me to do things that seemed impossible. To bring him here was going to be difficult, hard. The government said, we'll give him a passage to allow him back into Zambia on humanitarian grounds. His family members who were supposed to help me, the men, just couldn't do it. Until his young brother, who's a reverend, told me, Ellen, this is your call. And I realized because I was the one dealing with the issue, I had to go as a child, as a girl child, to pick my father, who was bedridden in Philippines. The story is that I brought my father back. I risked him. When we arrived here, even the doctors at UTH could not believe that I'd flown with him for more than 24 hours from Philippines to Lusaka, because his life was like any moment he would pass on. But what I'm trying to say is that forgiveness gave me the courage, gave me the strength, gave me an opportunity to honor my father. I stayed with him 2 months upon bringing him to Zambia, and he passed on. But I was such a happy person. I'm still a happy person. And when I look back, it freed me. It gave me that freedom. It gave me that peace. It gave me that fulfillment that even as he was breathing his last, I closed his eyes in the hospital and I said, God, thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to forgive my father and to honor him as my father. People of God, forgiveness helps you to be free. Forgiveness gives you that opportunity to understand other people's pains. It eases your pain. It eases your pain. Today, you may be in the same situation, not maybe so similar to mine, but you may have not forgiven somebody in your life because they hurt you. Forgiveness will create a higher level of integrity throughout your life, whether it's in your workplace, whether it is in your family life, whether it is in your faith life, in the church. Forgiveness will help you rise up, will help you step up and be a person who is different. In whatever space you are in, you need forgiveness. And from that moment, my life has never been the same. My life has been a life filled with so much that when I look back, I don't feel any hurt. I don't feel any pain. Even when family members were not supporting me in the last life of my father, those who couldn't come up, there were others who came up, but I was not hurt. I did not hold it against them because I knew that my life had been liberated. My life had been set free. And even in my work, you become attractive to others when you are a person who forgives. Your community will trust you. People will come to you. They'll come to speak to you. They'll come to share their challenges with you because you have forgiven. Like the quote says, forgiveness is accepting the apology you will never receive. Forgiveness will help you to resolve conflicts and move on. My challenge to you today, to every one of you, is arise and take that step and forgive. Resolve that undercurrent that you may have been harboring. It is time to take that step. Get the help that you may need in order for you to forgive, because forgiveness is your key to living a fulfilled life. Forgiveness is the key to your prosperity, to the prosperity of your soul. Forgiveness is a strange thing. It can sometimes be easier to forgive your enemies than your friends. It is even hardest of all to forgive people we love. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. Thank you, Rev. Walter. Over to you.
Oh my goodness, Coach, that is such an amazing story. We are all in shock here. I mean, I've known you all this time and you're such a jovial, lovely, wonderful person. You are always, at least this is what we pick as individuals that interact. You're always so bubbly. And who knew this was the background that you had to go through? It's such an amazing story. I will share this on my platforms. I'm going to go in there. I usually tend to go in there and do a bit of editing just to get the write-up correct. It's about forgiveness, and use this as a story to help all those that are holding onto pain and hurt. You know my story. I mean, but your story is a whole other level because you had to bring this person back that never did anything to you. And in a strange kind of way, I also get another teaching to your story, Coach Ellen. And the teaching is that our choices, our decisions will come back to haunt us one day. And your father's story, my father's story, very similar. The only difference is that yours got sick and went through that, very challenging bit at the end of his life. I pray there was opportunity between you to just talk for whatever it's worth. But, many times as adults, and I'm hoping somebody's watching this, you're a man. I'm going to focus this on men. You're a man, you make these decisions, you say, it's my life, I can't stand this person, I can't stand this. And then you do so much injustice to your seed, your children, because of this quarrel or difference you have with their mom. And that goes as a cry before God. And one day you will see it come full circle. And so many people have found themselves in very painful places in their old lives because of the decisions they made. I mean, the other day I watched a clip of Wumba Malum, I always get her name wrong, Wumba Malambo, the Kafue Mayor. And she was helping this old man who used to live in some card box. And you look at that thing, you go, this is a 70-plus-year-old man, and he's in a card box. Where are his children? Where is his family? I'm not in any way saying that we don't have bad turns in life, but life is very funny. And you find that in many instances, people like that, when you get to their past, you discover that there are so many injustices they did. And somehow, for some of them, that retribution happens on earth. Now, in my opinion, it is better retribution happens on earth because perhaps it's an opportunity for repentance. It's an opportunity to set their hearts right with God because God is a loving God. Doesn't matter what a person did. If they come to God faithfully and repent and ask for forgiveness, even on their dying bed, God will forgive them. They will make heaven. And that's the story of those two thieves on the cross. You remember they were there justifiably to be killed for their evil. And yet one of them told Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus told him, verily I say unto you, this day you shall be with me in paradise. So even the vilest, robber, sinner, horrible person, if they have that opportunity to genuinely confess on their deathbed, God can forgive them. And so this is the thing, it's just that the pain and the hurt and the damage they leave behind is so much. And so I'm hoping somebody that watched this all the way to the end. Look at the story of Coach Ellen. I can't tell my story, but many times it's these decisions that we make. We think we're being clever. We think we're being sharp. We think we're fixing that person. But then these things come full circle. And it's the very same people you despised. It's the very same people you look down on. Then they come back and they are the ones who even come to rescue you. How humbling is that? How humbling is that? And so please, to somebody out there, if you are holding pain and anger, you must forgive. Let the story of Coach Ellen galvanize you to forgiveness. And I love what you say, Coach, at the end. You said it is easier to forgive a person you don't know, an enemy, somebody you don't know. But the hardest forgiveness are those closest to you, your spouse, your children, and your parents. And no wonder we keep this cycle going, because if you hate your father and your mother and you do evil to them, I guarantee you, it's going to come to you as well. You will have the same experience with your children. And then if they don't do something about it, they will have the same experience with their children. It's like this cycle, this familiar spirit keeps on haunting you until somebody in that line decides to say, enough is enough. Let us forgive. Let us embrace the love of God. And this buck stops with me. I am not allowing this to the next generation. Wonderful story, Coach. And it's so powerful. We've been so blessed. I will work on this one immediately. You'll see the changes I'll do, and then I'll post it back into the groups so that people can share. Your testimony will heal somebody out there. If you're watching this and you're watching it on my YouTube channel, remember to subscribe, remember to share. If you're on Facebook, you know people that are struggling with unforgiveness, make sure you share this video. Let them hear a true story about redemptive forgiveness and what it can do. Coach, thank you so much for, sharing your story with all of us. We are so, so blessed. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll catch you tomorrow.